Hello, everyone. In today's episode, we will continue talking about the newest revealed details about the upcoming 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide.
That's right, got 4 more updates to talk about. Greyhawk, the DM screen, adventures, and the campaign chapters. I'm Eddie.
And I'm Eugene, and welcome to another episode of
The Middle-Aged Barbarians.
Here on Middle-Aged Barbarians, we like to cover a wide range of topics, from tips and tricks on how to run your games, class and monster analysis, media and adventure reviews, and news updates. So whether you're new to the RPG scene or a seasoned player, an aspiring DM in the making, or a jaded veteran like us,
Stick around to watch this pair of guys be barbaric and tear your boredom to shreds.
All right, so
Okay.
since the last video we recorded about the Dungeon Master update for the new guide, there have been, as Eddie mentioned, 4 more videos. Let's go over each of those videos, give our thoughts, opinions on how we think things are going to come out based on what they say, and see if we're still as hopeful as we were at the end of the previous
Sure. Let's
update
go.
video. So the first one that came out was talking about the campaign that will be included in the Dungeon Master's Guide, which is Greyhawk.
So like we predicted in a way, the player's handbook being so sparse in lore details is because they kind of pass them to the...
Actually, I'll do you one better, and I will invite everyone, editor, please put a little square, I don't know, up here in the corner, up there in the corner, or like a little thingy, to our video where we talked about the Greyhawk campaign setting, because in that video we said this is going to be what's in
The base one. Yeah, it makes sense.
in the Dungeon Master's Guide. Yeah, I mean, they mentioned it being the granddaddy, Gary Gygax's baby, the first campaign ever worked on.
Yeah, Castle Greyhawk. But it's not just a castle. It's more...
Oh, no, it's the whole thing. They're including like a general map, and the information is more centered around the actual city. They mentioned the city being like the main player hub and having a lot of details. And then the farther away you got, I think the idea was that there will be less and less details, so you as a DM can build around and add or take away and do what you want with that.
So that works if that's your style of campaign, but if not, maybe that won't be as good for you because of the lack of detail in a way.
Well, I mean, what do you mean?
Well, I don't know. How do you feel about that? About not being as detailed as some campaign settings? Because back in the 3rd edition, we were really pampered with tons of gazetteers and a lot of content that sometimes we even got lost reading lore rather than playing. So,
I think this does go along with the, like this whole idea of let's make this accessible for new players, which as an old player maybe, I don't know, turns me off a little bit. But if I can manage to get into the mindset of how this would be if I was somebody coming in blank, not knowing what to do, I actually kind of like the idea of Greyhawk, at least the way they're presenting it, because, and I mean, this may sound kind of bad, but I think Greyhawk is just enough of a vanilla ambient or a vanilla campaign setting that you can pretty much do anything you kind of like.
yeah, more than say vanilla per se, is the vanilla that Dungeons and Dragons gave us. Similar to how Tolkien gave us a sort of way of fantasy, Greyhawk is the standard for a reason.
Yeah, and they even mentioned at some point in the video that, I mean, we've gotten like iconic evils and items and, you know, characters that are even in the player's handbook, in the spells, in the magical items, and they're all from this one world. So, I mean, it kind of
makes sense.
it brings everything together, no? Even if they have to put a warning at the beginning saying this is legacy content or some bullshit like that.
So that works.
Great.
And it kind of makes sense as well, because even your older content, your older lore, well, since it's so open, you can reuse it in a way.
Yeah. And they get into that later on when they talk about the campaign chapter. But basically, they're including Greyhawk. They're including a bunch of maps. They even mentioned something about like adding maybe some like political things or like
A couple of conflicts.
A bigger world scale issues happening around that world. But yeah, that's what's coming. I think it's good. I mean, what can you find negative with it being Greyhawk? I don't know.
No, nothing. Just if you like weirder stuff, you can make it your own.
Yeah, I mean, they mentioned the original, and we showed it in that video. Well, not the original, but it was just a little booklet. It was like 30 some odd pages. So if that's what they're including, or even reducing it down for the DMGs, I think it's a good starting place for somebody new. And even if you don't like the city, you can change it. Like you're saying, you can make it your own and do all that.
Yeah,
So-
so it's good. It's good. It's a tick mark there.
Yeah, that's something positive, I think. Now here's something I'm sure you'll have more input than me. One of the videos was about the new DM screen. Did you have a chance to see that one?
Yes.
I don't know. Basically, I think the whole video was them talking about, oh, look at our art. Look at the way we've drawn these characters on the back of the screen. I'm being kind of a jerk, but no. They do mention that the inside, and this is where your expertise comes in, they were having challenges figuring out how they can get as much information as possible, layouts, font sizes, all that fun stuff.
No,
that you
the
love.
layout is really well made. I mean, in general, the graphic design aspect of the new books are, from what we have seen, even in the actual copies of the Player's Handbook, and if they continue the tendency of the Player's Handbook with the DM's Guide, it's going to be really, really well done, the layout. Something that I wanted to mention about the layout is the index as well. I think they revealed it as sort of an index similar to the Player's Handbook. It kind of makes sense as a step-by-step guide if you're a new player.
Yeah, they're restructuring how the information is presented.
So it's kind of like a walkthrough, not a reference book, which is, I think that's the thing that I found jarring on first.
I mean, we have access to the digital version. Honestly, I want to wait until I get the actual book. But yeah, they change it up so it's easier to digest and work through and learn
Make it step by
about.
step. So I think the same thing applies to the DM screen. It's made with more logic rather than tradition, which makes sense.
I think they get a little giddy on the inclusion part because they were mentioning like the different species and the classes, and I think there was one of the drawings that had, I forget exactly what it was. It was this big hulking humanoid, and it had a prosthetic leg and something else. Like, it's kind of like, all right, I get it, fine, yay.
Yeah, it's better if it's if you just present it and don't.
Oh
pay
yeah,
attention.
I agree.
Don't
Sorry.
pay attention.
I thought
to
you were
it.
telling me to be quiet. I'm like, hell
No. If you're quiet when you present stuff like that, it's just like the guy in the wheelchair, which is in the Player's Handbook. I mean, it's cool. A guy in a wheelchair, that makes sense. I mean, we live in a fantasy setting. I can imagine a guy in a magical wheelchair that floats, does magic stuff.
If it floats, why would you need wheels?
Ask Dr. Charles A. Xavier, what does he need wheels?
Oh man.
I don't want to be comfortable, I guess.
No, in case somebody needs to push you.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I don't know. Producer, maybe you know. Will the Dungeon Master's Guide, the
Come with
physical copy, include the Dungeon Master screen, or you think they're going to sell that separately? Because I don't think they mentioned that.
Well, maybe it will be a bundle. Okay. Buy with.
I mean, because I'm waiting. I'm holding out. I'm getting the alternate art because I do like those. Do they have an alternate art Dungeon Master screen?
Of course, yeah.
No, they don't.
You have fifth edition bundle
like one of these.
box right here. Yeah.
and that bundle.
Has the DM screen, yeah.
But they're not mentioning selling this as a bundle as of now. Just a digital bundle.
They probably will.
Well, I mean, fingers crossed. I could always use a new DM screen.
I don't know. I'm more.
Although, to be honest, I'm not going to look through it now. There's a beautiful one here with the red art. Do we have the Bestiarium one? All right, so like this, not to brag, but this is from our friends here over at ND. This one came with their
Mysterium.
Bestiarium box, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, then that sort of neutral art is also very cool.
Yeah, and I like just the two-tone.
Yeah, the two-tone, the vibe is very different than having like a. It doesn't give you as much commitment to your
I'm
fantasy.
going to go to the close-up camera while I hit the microphone. There, you can kind of zoom in on that. And you got this really cool skeleton thingy. And then this, which I will get either on a shirt or a hat someday. So, I mean, I like this. But, I mean, you can always use a new DM screen.
Yeah, you can have several even.
and just make like a big fort.
Yeah, just cover like a confessionary.
Or you go old school and just stack them up one on top of the other, and then nobody can see you.
Yeah, or books.
All right, so that was the DM screen video in a nutshell. They also make a lot of mentions about the monster manual. Like, I think the same artists that work on the screen are in charge of the monster manual. Which, I mean, the art looks pretty. We'll see how it comes out in the book.
Yeah, I think that's that. Now that you mentioned the way Greyhawk works, it kind of is my not problem, but the vibe I get with the art is very vanilla in a way. It's very a critique that they have done to Magic: The Gathering, for instance, that the art has become a little bit samey sometimes, but it's not bad. It's very well done. It's just it's got its own language, so yeah.
Like the imperfections and the different art styles from the previous books gave it a little more character.
Yeah, gave it a different vibe, a little bit more. Yeah, like you said, a little bit more character. I mean, it's not just to demerit the work of the artists; they're friggin' amazing, but it's more directed than before. So,
All right. I will agree with you there. The next video was on the chapter that will be based on adventures, the adventure chapter. I don't know why they mentioned at the beginning, like, oh, this chapter is for users, for people reading the book, not for publishers. I don't know if that's kind of like their way of saying it's going to be a little more chaotic. You're not going to be able to base a business model after what we're giving you here. This is more like for your own home notes, which is fine. I get it. So it focuses on the creation of adventures. They do delineate a 4-step process. Actually, I want to plug another one of our videos here. Edgar, put the other one in where we talk about how we design our adventures, because they're very similar. What is the premise of the adventure? What is the hook that gets the party involved? You determine a sequence of encounters, and how will it end? Will it wrap up, close off, or will it be an open-ended? Will it leak into something else? So, I mean, it's pretty standard of stuff for us. Again,
new players is very good too.
I'm trying to convince one of the new players to actually
try to DM.
Try and DM. He's more into it, a little more creative in that process. And I actually got him a copy of, I forget where they gave the adventure off, but it's the cartoon characters coming back. It's a pre-made adventure that they gave out
with all the cartoon
with all the classic characters pre-made,
plus an ancient cleric, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, another cleric, another character, which is a cleric. So I gave that to him, and I told him, "Here, read this. When we take a break from the campaign, then you can run that in 1 or 2 sessions, so you kind of get the vibe." So I'm sure if he gets this book, he'll probably like it a lot. They mentioned, which I thought I loved it. Actually, you don't want to railroad your characters or your players, but they do mention an invisible railroad. In the way that you got to kind of keep the campaign going on a logical sequence, no matter
what happens,
like how crazy your players can get.
Yeah, otherwise you get somebody that rather than going on adventures, they set up shop on town, and the adventures are there.
Yeah. So they say it includes tips and tricks on how to keep the campaign flowing, and how to give the reader many different random adventure tables for different tiers of play. There will be a bunch of different random tables. You have adventure themes for the levels. You have hooks. You even have like climax tables, which sounds a little more interesting than what it probably will be, or at least a different kind of climax than what I'm thinking. So they also have like a lot of maps. I think they're more like a generic kind of like, oh, this is this kind of building, or this is this structure, or this, that you can incorporate and use and stuff for yourself, which is fine. I mean, extra stuff is always good, I guess.
Yeah, plus, like you said, it's very, very well adapted for newer players who haven't... Some of those ideas will seem probably cliche to jaded people like us, but if you're just starting out, oh, that's great, yeah.
I mean,
Secret
honestly,
Princess.
even going back and refreshing and like rereading the newer rules based to maybe like the whole collage and mix of rules that have been overlapping in my head. as a DM now it's been helpful. So I do wanna look into the book. I like that they are changing up a little bit, not too much. They say we're reworking the encounter
The
budget.
random encounters?
No. How you would design the encounters for the player level party
I got it.
challenge rating system kind of thing. They're simplifying it down to just 3 tiers because I think before they had easy, low, moderate, hard, or something like that. So it's just low, moderate, and hard. And then based on your party size and level, you get a budget, and then you use that budget on monsters, and then you put that in to build it between hazards and enemies and all that kind of stuff. So that's, I guess, kind of cool. Always good to know. And something interesting, because I didn't like the 2014 treasure tables and all that. I know we did cover rewards and all that. We mentioned it a little bit. I didn't like them too much. So hopefully they'll rework something interesting and a little more viable.
Yeah, probably. I mean, it has been one of the longest complaints of this edition. So
Yeah. And they are including 5 pre-made adventures that they mentioned. Although they do mention that the adventures are going to be like on 1 page or 1.5 pages. So it's probably going to be just like bare bone detail of what to do, which is
Yeah, but-
fine. Yeah.
prompts are probably just like an encounter, what we would call an encounter in some other circumstance.
Yeah, it's like one fight and then a story or something.
Yeah, but you have all the elements: the prompt, the action, and the conclusion.
Which, I mean, don't get me wrong, a session can be just one battle if it's big
Yeah,
and
of course.
epic enough and entertaining enough. That's fine. But that was pretty much the adventure chapter, which leaves us with the final chapter. Ready? The campaign chapter. And guess what they mentioned in the campaign chapter?
What I mentioned,
They talk about a session 0.
which is very important.
Yeah, session 0, and like not only does the campaign have a certain storyline it's going to go across, they mention the players having their own character motivations and how everything, not only the campaign but also their motivations, will change and evolve during the course of a very long campaign, which is perfect. I totally agree. They are apparently including a bunch of papers, like keep your little journal,
Trackers,
your
yes.
diary, trackers, something like that. Which, I mean, you have a notebook, you just use your notebook, but they'll have specialized sheets of paper.
Forms are very important, my friend. It's very important to have the proper form with the nice spacing and everything in its place. I love forms, so
But do you use them?
of course not.
Or do you just love them? Yeah.
I love them, yeah.
I like them, and then I'll leave them right over there where they look pretty.
Yeah, I mean, I won't spoil them by writing on them.
Yes, keep them pristine.
Yes.
So there will be a lot of tracking sheets and stuff, apparently. And something kind of cool, they mentioned like the arcs for villains, and they had an interesting exchange there on how you can track different bad guys at different levels and keep like the whole global panorama and scale and stuff and in check. Guess what they support? Using pre-made campaigns and making them your own. Again, Edgar, you can leave the whole link to that whole DM section of videos here. So that's 3 links that we can include. One thing I did like, they mentioned using like break episodes, like just something random, something off, something different to kind of break like a palate cleanser almost.
Yeah, or kind of like on series, like, I don't know, I remember Buffy the Vampire Slayer that had a musical episode or a silent episode, and something very, very, very different than the usual tone of your campaign.
I mean, with a new bard, you can have
A dancing
episode.
A dancing competition.
You could. So yeah, that was kind of interesting.
I'm imagining the Goliath barbarian doing stomp on that episode. that sounds very awesome.
Yeah, and from what I wrote down, the video does end with tips and tricks on how to know how to end a campaign, at least on purpose. So I guess that's good. Am I excited as I was after the previous video? Yeah. I mean, I'll be more excited if I find out if it comes with a DM screen. If anybody knows if it's coming with the DM screen, let me know. I'll be getting it regardless, but
Yeah, I mean.
now this is something that I know we've discussed here with the producers before. Do you think people are going to actually read the Dungeon Master's Guide?
Oh, that's a very good question, because it's clearly intended not to be a reference manual, but be a whole complete thing that you read cover to cover. I'm not sure. I mean, older players, that would be a little that defies expectations, because have always been used to the Dungeon Master guys being, oh, I need this thing, I'll check, oh, here it is, and just toss it away. But now it's kind of a whole process thing. So I don't know. I'm guessing they should warn us a little bit more about that it's supposed to be that way. I don't know if it really comes across on how they've talked about it, but
I mean, I'm interested to look at the lore chapter that they're including to see exactly what they include. And I will give it a little glance over at the Bastions.
the
rest.
newer roles, I don't know. As a new player, yeah, you definitely should read it cover to cover, and it feels more easy to do so, because back in the day, you just magic items over here, conditions over here, and you're like, what? Everything doesn't make sense. Like
like you said, it was mainly just like a reference document or something.
Yeah, so hopefully people do read it in that manner, particularly newer players. So that would
we do need more DMs out there. So
that'd be good.
Yeah. All right.
But it's sounding good as a DM training thing. So we're optimistic.
Cool.
So that's the end of the video. If you haven't already, please drop a like and subscribe to the channel, and please feel free to leave your comments, suggestions, and questions below.
Yes. Also, come follow us on our other social media like Instagram and TikTok, and join us on our Discord channel over on the Indie Hobby server. Links in the descriptions below.
And as always, remember to rage responsibly. We'll see you in the next episode.
Roll the dice!